Over the last 4.5 years, I have covered a lot of games. Back when I started, I was much more naive about development cycles. I thought that most of these games would be finished by now. Looking back at the 67 reviews I made in 2021, it is clear that is not the case. I like to think that I have learned and grown since then, and I am much more discerning in what I cover now. I like to focus more on completed games, or games that I know will be finishing. This is going to be a 3-part podcast where I revisit every individual game review I covered in 2021. We'll talk about where things currently are, and a little bit about what each developer has done since I covered them. This isn't meant to be comprehensive, just me sharing my thoughts about each of these titles.
So, 67 broken into 3.
Yeah, 67 broken into 3. So this
22
one
today?
Yeah, 22, and then 23 probably.
Sort of in alphabetical order. I know you started with trying to do alphabetical order and you just kind of...
Yeah, because then I noticed games and I was like, oh, I really wonder how that one's doing. And then I got distracted.
All right.
So I'll start alphabetical and then I will have like this huge gap and then be at like S or something.
And our trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
All right, so where are we starting?
So we are starting with Avalon, which I covered June 18th in 2021.
Okay.
And it's completed. And when I covered it, it was completed.
One of the few games you covered that was completed at the time.
Yeah, it was. And this is by the developer Lockhart, and they have had other games since then. Mm-hmm. Like they did a lot actually. They had Penny for Your Thoughts in April of 2021, and then A Petal Among Thorns in August of 2021, A Moment of Bliss in April or May of 2022, The Judas Ghost, which came out in July of 2023.
The first build, yeah.
Yeah, the first build. And then the recent ones that he's been working on are Over the Moon and then Queen Bee. Mm-hmm. Well, and he is also currently working on The Judas Ghost, but yeah. And
Avalon was your romance game of the year in 2021.
It was.
So this is a developer. I know they've had some trouble on Steam, like a lot of developers have.
Yeah.
So what do you like about the game?
Well, Lockhart does a really good job with well-rounded characters and complex characters and stories, and he does a really good job writing those. And each of these games that I just blurted out does a really good job with the characters and the story. And Avalon was his first one, and he did a really good job with it. It went into a lot about recovering from sexual trauma, and I liked how the other characters in the story had independent plot lines, especially with Penny and Octavia and their panther. I'm still confused on why he had a panther put in there because it doesn't make sense, but
I think it's funny because a lot of these things are like Chekhov's gun. Mm-hmm. If you see a thing in the game, you're going to think that it's going to be used in the game. Yeah. So if you see a big furry animal in a adult content game, there is going to be an assumption that there's going to be...
the panther is going to be involved somehow, but it wasn't.
So I wonder how many people felt faked out by that.
Honestly, yeah.
All the furry fans were like, I was tricked.
Where's the panther? Yeah.
All right, so, okay. And I know you covered Judas Ghost in your Halloween one last year. Yeah. I think you were like calling it Sexy Beetlejuice or something. I remember you were talking about it.
Yeah.
The Petal Among Thorns, Moment of Bliss, and Over the Moon are a part of a 3-part series.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about Queen Bee other than it's going to be, I think, cuck queening. And
honestly, I haven't played the game and I don't know much about it. But if it's anything like his other games, I'm sure it's going to have a good story.
And his development cycle seems to be finishing games, pretty in 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. He's good at release dates. Yeah.
Which we're gonna struggle with on this list. I've looked through this list, and of the 60 some games, a lot of them still aren't finished, and I don't know if they're ever going to finish. So it's good you started with a finished game. All right, let's keep it strong. What's next?
Well, we're actually going to go back, or we're going to keep with the momentum of completed games.
All right.
Yeah. And the next one is Become a Rockstar, which I covered in May of 2021. And it's completed. And when I covered it, it was like build 0.8, and it ended on build 1.0 in 2023.
Yeah,
so
like take 2 years. I think this was a Russian developer. And I think
it was.
For developers from that part of the world, 2021, 2022, 2023, even today, there's a lot of difficulty in developing games. So I understand why there was a delay. I think we're going to be saying a lot of I understand why there was a delay with these games.
So, but it's completed, and that's really good. And they actually have a new game that they started around June 2024 of last year, called Domino Beach. And they are currently on episode 2 with that game. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know too much about Domino Beach.
You don't cover early
no, it
builds.
does. It's only episode 2. So if it continues and gets to maybe like, I don't know, episode 5, maybe I'll cover it. But it really depends on if I can see it.
If it releases on Steam, you cover it. That's your thing now.
Okay,
come on,
fine.
Be honest.
Okay. Yes.
I remember back, there've been 3 phases of sex positive gaming. Well, I guess we're moving into the 3rd phase. Phase 1 was in our garage.
Yeah.
Phase 2, which we are concluding, is the Vietnam arc.
In a closet.
Excuse me, you have an whole office, okay? I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, I know, but my recording, I have 2 hands on my wall right now.
You soundproofed the room, so
I know.
Whatever. And then we're going to be starting phase 3 next month, which is the Taiwan, Japan.
Yeah.
And I know you've been talking about that with your patrons and with your new YouTube members. I think it's interesting how your YouTube member videos are like news-based and your Patreon videos are more like personal.
Yeah, well, I was trying to figure out what I could offer the YouTube members because I offer personal stuff on Patreon. And so I was like, oh, well, what about news stuff and more factual stuff?
Are you going to do a kind of Vietnam to Taiwan video on Patreon?
Yeah, on Patreon and YouTube members.
Oh, you can share it with YouTube members too? You're like, that's newsworthy. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Are you going to show the footage of me dying as we try to climb Elephant Mountain?
I don't have to.
Oh, that was terrible. That was terrible. I was not prepared. Exercise.
We all weren't prepared.
It was no, because they're like everybody else is like zipping by us, like kids doing cartwheels up and down, and we're just like dying.
Listen, we did the last leg.
I was questioning my life decisions seriously at that point.
Honestly, yeah.
All right. Okay. Anyways. So Become a Rockstar. This new game might be good.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. What's next?
So the next one is Betrayed.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah, this was the one where like you die and then you have to choose between the demon path or the angel path, and I'll get into that in a second. So I covered it September of 2021, and when I covered it, it was build 0.86, and it's completed now, and it ended on build like 1.03 basically with the Steam release in 2024.
It took 3 years to go. Wow. Okay, so is it this entire industry has really struggled getting stuff out?
Yeah, everyone kind of slowed down.
Wow.
After I covered them.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. I hadn't noticed that, so that's
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what the productivity is on visual novels.
Yeah, but I was going through their Patreon to see if, they had other games that they had been working on. And I will say the developer has had a rough time, let's just say. And at some point, I don't remember the actual date, their whole house was washed away from a massive flood.
Oh, God. Is everybody okay, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's fine.
Okay.
But the hardware that he had was completely destroyed.
Wow.
And so, yeah, he hasn't really done anything on Patreon since then.
Even if you don't lose all your hardware and everything, the psychological trauma of something that's hard to recover from.
It is.
We are still dealing with the ramifications of your mom's cancer. And that's not, a house washing away. So my heart goes out to them. And
yeah.
So maybe bringing this attention, people will check it out on Steam and buy their game and help them out that way.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? I remember playing it and I thought it was interesting, but I played it back when you reviewed it.
Yeah. So it's same thing with me. I played it back when I reviewed it, and from what I remember, it was a really interesting premise where you die and you have
that
the demon.
Dichotomy.
Yeah, the demon and angel path. But it did have this like body possession storyline that was kind of confusing, and it didn't really have what I'm trying to say is that the game didn't really have a goal in where they were going with the body possession.
Interesting premise, hard execution.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But it was still a pretty interesting premise and an overall decent game.
On the next one, I remember when this finished, you were kind of disappointed with the ending.
Yeah, the ending kind of...
Oh, sorry. City of Broken Dreamers.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
You got ahead.
Distracting the team.
Okay. Yeah. So you're talking about City of Broken Dreamers, which I first covered in July of 2021. And when I first covered it, it was like chapter 9, and they now have book 1 and book 2, and so chapters 1 through 7 was book 1, and book 2 is chapters 8 through 15, and so I guess I did play a little bit into book 2.
Yeah.
But I never finished it. And I recently did finish it when I covered the sci-fi list in 2024. So I did get to the end and to see the endings and, the ending. And it kind of just came out of nowhere. It did feel a bit rushed. I mean, there were a ton of chapters.
Is there a book 3, or is this just kind of pittered out?
No, there's not going to be a book 3.
At least not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there could be a book 3, but it ends in a way where things get wrapped up.
Okay.
And it doesn't seem like there's going to be a book 3.
Okay. And only one ending, so not multiple endings?
Yeah, only one ending. Yeah, but I mean, it was an overall good game. Like the amount of animations that it had.
You really, really liked.
Yeah, because when I first played it, I was like gobsmacked how many animations there were.
Yeah.
And this was back July 2021. This was back when I was
still
relatively new to the adult game space. So seeing all of these animations, I was kind of just like, damn, he's putting in the work.
Now, the next game you
absolutely
loved. You loved the hell out of this game.
I loved this game. It's Cloud Meadow. Oh my god. It was one of the first adult games where I couldn't actually stop playing. And I first covered it in March of 2021, so really new to the adult game space.
Yeah.
And because I started the channel in February, for those who don't know. And it's still not completed. And when I first covered it, it was like the beta 0.1.2.0 build. And right now, it's 0.2.3.0 as of October 2024. And yeah, they just have been really, really slow with releases. So slow to the fact that people have kind of grown wary
Lost
of the
interest
game.
And kind of moved away.
Yeah, because it's just taken so long, which really sucks because it was really fun. It was a farming game, which kind of had the farming. It was like
sort of.
Yeah, it was sort of the farming, but I still saw the potential for it. And it was like dungeon delving, it was monsters, it was pixel. Oh my god, the art was so pretty. It was so pretty. And it was just really fun. And yeah, my excitement for this game has kind of dwindled over the past years.
Maybe if it finishes.
You'll
revisit it.
There is going to be a big update this summer. I don't know where that's going to put the game, but
we'll see.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are not finished yet, that you have dwindled with your
College
interest.
Kings. So I covered this the first time in June of 2021, and it's not completed yet. I mean, College Kings 1 is completed, but they're still working on College Kings 2. But the first time when I covered it, it was version 10, and did I cover it when College Kings 1 finished?
You had a couple College Kings reviews, and then I remember you talked to me about this, and this was one of the... 2021 was like this. You had Being a Dick the previous year. You had all of these college games coming out. It was like peak college on Steam and Patreon.
Yeah.
And this is an example of this. This was a very popular game. The first was very popular. People drew corollaries between it and Being a Dick, of course. But but it was obvious that people wanted that college experience, and it was interesting because I show you a lot of 80s movies, and you like trashy 80s movies.
Trashy, campy 80s movies.
A lot of the 80s movies that you especially enjoy are those kind of high school coming of age. What were we watching? Better Off Dead.
Oh yeah.
John Cusack. And so these are obviously adults being cast in high school roles, doing a coming of age story. And you do that in a movie because you're dealing with sexual themes, and the easiest way to deal with sexual themes is to just cast adults, and then people don't get as creeped out by it. Mm-hmm. However, you can't really do that in video games because none of these characters have birth certificates. Doesn't matter how old you make them look, Steam's going to ban them.
Yep.
So what we saw the high school coming of age stories just being put in college. Mm-hmm. And that's really, there's some cognitive dissonance in why are these people so naive and inexperienced and everything. But I get what they're trying to do. There's obviously a demand. And but the popularity of College Kings 1 versus the updates on College Kings 1 and College Kings 2, it almost mirrors the popularity or decline in popularity of the college harem flavor in general. Yeah. So I think you can point to a lot of reasons for it, but it is interesting to see. This is kind of representing, it's a microcosm of the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. And so you stopped covering it. And you've talked about maybe covering when 2 completes, maybe later this year.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, right now they're on episode 6, and they have a slated release date for that on Steam for July 11th. And it is supposedly the grand finale to College Kings 2.
But is there going to be a College Kings 3?
Yes.
Then is that really a grand finale? What are we doing?
Using buzzwords.
Seriously. All right. Okay, all right, let's be fair. Most kids take 5 years to finish college. Mm-hmm. So I guess as long as they finish next year, we're okay.
I guess, yeah. But then what are they going to do with College Kings 3?
Grad school. It's obviously
we're College Kings in the office. Office Kings.
Okay.
Honestly, they could do an office theme.
They could graduate into all right. That's
they have all the same characters. That's what the Lisk did.
Yeah, Lisk. It was interesting. That was one of the last videos you came out with, and you were like, okay, this had a Patreon version, mm-hmm. and it was changed to be on Steam. Yeah. And for some reason, people just thought it was like banned on Steam. Yeah. And you're like, no, it was changed to be on Steam, and that was mm-hmm. the whole point about you talking about the censorship. And I thought that was an interesting narrative. It could have been a longer video. I know you try very hard to keep your videos, concise. 3 to 4 minutes. Yeah. But I think sometimes nuance is lost, which we get in these podcasts better. But then, not everybody wants to sit down and watch for an hour or 2 hours of you talking and me yapping, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of coming-of-age stories, next up we've got...
next up we have Come Home, which I covered in November of 2021. It is not completed, and when I covered it for the first time, it was the Steam release, and it was like update 9.5, and they're currently working on update 19. They have said that the end of the game, or the main plot line, is going to be update 20. So
we're close.
Yeah, I know. So that might be, like a fall 2025 completed release, maybe.
Didn't you say fall was a bad time to release games?
Well, yes.
Okay, well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
You've talked about this a couple times.
Yeah, I have. The Games for Women list in 2023, and that was like update 14.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember you telling me that you really like the interpersonal relationships in how they were written. So
yeah, they did do a really good job with the relationships, and there's like this huge focus on consent with the characters. And there was also like a huge number of romanceable characters. There was like 20 or something. And yeah, they did a really good job. It was like what I said with Lockhart, like they have like a really good job like creating complex characters that have like a really deep connection with each other. And Come Home has that as well.
And next we have the game with a cow named Annie.
Oh yeah, it does have Annie the cow. I can't believe I said that. Okay, the next game is Corrupted Kingdoms. And I first covered that in April of 2021, and it's still not completed. When I first covered it, it was like build 0.9.6, and it's currently on build 0.22.3.
So at least they've been putting out
stuff.
stuff.
They do a good job with releases. There was an issue on Patreon in 2024 where the game was removed from Patreon because of certain characters and scenes.
Yeah, it's a game where you can actually have kids and give birth to kids and watch
then interact with the kids
grow up.
Yeah,
and so even if you're not engaging with the kids in any way, shape, or form, I think a lot of these platforms are taking a zero tolerance thing, even though ostensibly the purpose of all of this sexual content is procreation. They're like, okay, well, they can be pregnant, but you can't give birth.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward. And even Steam is very hesitant with games like that. Even if they are not participating, they just don't want younger
kids.
Looking people.
Yeah, it's a zero tolerance rule for them. But yeah, Corrupted Kingdoms, great game. I personally liked the humor in it and the juxtaposition between like creepy and cheerful kind of stuff.
It's basically a anime wet light novel.
It is. Yeah,
so
there's
of
lots
course you like it.
You could see that there's lots of influences from other media in it, and it's nice when you do recognize that media and you're just like, oh, I know where that's from. Yeah, it's a very like a meme game. I think that's the best way to put it.
All right, and the next one I don't know at all.
Honestly, yeah, I had forgotten about this one. It's one
Tell
of the
us
games.
What you really think, Annie.
I'm sorry. It's called Cure My Addiction, and I first covered it in October of 2021, and I did cover it when it had completed. Cure My Addiction is about, it has a stupid plot line. It's like you are a porn addict.
No shaming.
I know.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry. It has an interesting plot line.
You better leave this in so they can see how horrible you are. We're all flawed. We all hate occasionally.
Yeah.
It's all right. Don't believe the hype. She hates just as much as everybody else.
Okay,
but
fine.
we strive to be better.
Yes, we do. All right. Let's see. I'll rephrase it somehow. It's spread out into to 5 chapters.
Okay.
And each chapter is a progression in your... Just think of the chapters as builds.
What is your addiction that we're trying to cure?
Sorry, your porn addiction.
Oh,
I told you.
Okay.
So you have a porn addiction,
Okay,
and then you get sent to a yacht in the middle of the ocean to...
What, do they cure your porn addiction with actual sex?
Yeah.
Oh.
I told you.
This seems like a completely normal and reasonable narrative.
Then,
I don't know what your problem is.
No, and then in like chapter 3, you get sent off to like an office where you're
Not college. You got to go to the office.
Yeah, not college, but you're sent off to an office where you work now, and then by chapter 5, you're married, and you can choose one of the girls from the previous chapters to marry, and you basically, it does go past the marriage, where you kind of explore with your marriage what you guys want to do, which I did find interesting looking back at footage, because I had to look back at footage. And not a lot of games do that. Like, they kind of just end at the marriage.
So it sounds like this has some novel things, but you just didn't really like the flavors in it.
Yeah. Or, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So check it out. I know it was on your BDSM list. When you did that.
My flavor BDSM list.
Back when you were allowed to do flavor lists before YouTube was like, not, you can't do these.
Yeah.
People keep asking, why don't you bring those back? And it's like, dude, talk to YouTube.
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of do with the podcast, because I kind of hide them.
Yeah, it's buried.
Yeah.
I think that's all right. So we've resurrected the flavor list because we're boring YouTube. By the time we're talking about it, they're already asleep.
And that's how we get away with it.
Speaking of things that are excessively bloated.
Oh my god, this one. Okay, so the next one is Custom Order Maid 3D2. It's a night magic, which I covered in June of 2021. And it's complete-ish. It has like a bajillion DLCs, though.
Yeah, they're still making new DLCs for this in Japan.
Yeah, every year. Yeah, and the base game, though, is complete. And they just have just a bunch of DLCs. Mm-hmm. And I covered it when the main build was completed. And honestly, I had forgotten how cool this game was. Like, it has really cool features. Like, there's like a dancing rhythm game, which I had completely forgotten about.
You can customize the mansion.
Oh, yeah, the room management.
Sims.
Yeah.
And it's a maid game, so you hire and train maids, and there's character customization. There's a lot to this game. Yeah,
and I had forgotten actually how complicated everything was. Like, there was like the hotel management, there's the room creation, the dancing rhythm game, like I said, and then the character creation, kind of like Koikatsu Party, very like rudimentary Koikatsu Party, but still there. But yeah, I had forgotten how cool this game was. It's also like all in 3D, which I liked, graphically wise. But yeah.
So still out there, still on Steam, but you're going to spend, $500 if you buy everything.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Dreams of Desire Definitive Edition.
Yes, which I covered November of 2021. And I did cover it when it had completed and released on Steam. And yeah, it was a pretty fun game. Their other game, Midnight Paradise, just released on Steam in December of 2024 as a complete game.
How's it doing?
Pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be on your year-end list?
Yeah, I could see it. Maybe
marginal?
Yeah, like
so
in the
it
middle.
has a chance. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you like the game, go put good reviews up to help the score.
Yeah. And their newest game is called Sunset Rose. They don't have a build for it yet, but they have announced it, and they said on their Patreon the game will be an advancement on the sandbox type gameplay, from Midnight Paradise, but it will be a lot more lighthearted and romance-oriented game.
Well, obviously, because we've gone from midnight to sunset.
That's what I was thinking.
There's still daylight.
I know. That's what I was thinking. And then I was like, oh, well, what if it was Sunrise Rose? But that doesn't have the same ring as Sunset Rose.
Sunrise Blossom.
Or Sunrise and then a different flower.
No, Steam would be like, no, Sunrise is too young. We got to ban this game.
That's why they put Sunset.
They got to go Sunset. Yeah. Stupid. You talked about this in the Corruption podcast, I remember. Yeah,
the recent one in number 18 Corruption podcast. Well, I covered Dreams of Desire Definitive Edition. Yeah. And it's not bad for a Corruption game. I do think it explores some interesting mechanics, especially with the black dark features.
Yeah, it was kind of like an existential horror kind of feel to it. Like if it was a Clive Barker or Stephen King or something like that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Yeah, great Corruption game.
All right, speaking of Corruption games.
Forgotten Paradise, another game that I have forgotten.
I think this is like your first NTR game
Yeah, it's the same people who did Pandora's Box. And so once I realized that it was Pandora's Box, I was like, oh, right. Okay, so Forgotten Paradise, I covered it in June of 2021, and I did cover it with a completed build of 1.0. And they are currently working on Pandora's Box 2. I have played the first one, but I haven't played the second one. So for Forgotten Paradise, it was interesting. So I actually didn't mind the game initially. You know, it did that confined in space, but everyone's horny.
Yeah, but then they also had like amnesia and stuff.
Yes, you did have amnesia because you went with like a space contract and you had to like... Dude. Everyone had their minds erased except for you, of course.
NTR games have the dumbest plot lines. I'm sorry. It's either... Now, I will say, this is one of the few NTR games where the main character isn't a complete simp. I mean... It is amazing to me how like it's always a misunderstanding. It's always if you just spent 5 minutes and have a conversation, are you actually in a relationship? What are you doing? It is. I would really like to see, you know, a game like that does a better job. And this is like, oh, well, your wife has amnesia, but you don't have amnesia, and she's out, man. She's like, doesn't even give you a second thought. She's like, oh, I'm hooking up with this guy right now. Peace.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like, what's even happening here?
Yeah, it was really...
Aren't you going to say anything, dude? It's your freaking wife. What are you doing?
And I wonder maybe that's why people had that reaction, because in the later half of the game, it's like a completely different game. Like you have like, it turns into like this planet hopping adventure with like a bunch of lore.
I don't think these developers have like a start to finish storyboard when they start on the game. I really think that with a lot of these, especially the Patreon projects, the way the story unfolds, I think is dictated by the patrons. The people putting in more money. Oh, they like this. I'll put more of that in there. Yeah. And I think that's why we get so many bloated, unfinished games. We just don't. There aren't editors, first of all, to get things out, and it just keeps going. And I think that was a case with this game. I think it would have been much stronger with a staying on the space station, start to finish, you know, rebirth, finding new identity, moving on. It could have been a catharsis of some sort, a positive NTR experience as opposed to destroyed. Oh, I'm better for this, and it's bittersweet, but my new life is great. And that could have been strong. But you're right, off planet and everything else, it literally jumped the shark or jumped the monstrous devouring alien. Spoilers.
Yeah, just a little bit. The next game is 4 Elements Trainer.
This is not done yet.
No.
You are kidding.
No, I covered it in February of 2021, actually the beginning of my channel, and it's still not completed.
What build were you at then?
0.9.6.
And what build are they on now?
1.1.4.
Okay, so another game that's probably slowed down.
Yes. Going by the update changelogs, it seems like they are working on the epilogues of the love and slave paths.
So they're thinking about finishing? They're considering
it's in the air. Yeah. It's on the tip of their tongue, yeah. They are also working on 18 Titans. So at the same time, which is a...
Sure, why not?
Sure, why not?
We need to make a Teen Titan parody, but we don't want to get in trouble. All right, what do we do? No problem.
18 Titans, yeah.
I mean, and it makes sense. If you actually read the Marvel comics, they're all so incredibly thirsty. It is ridiculous.
Really?
And there's a real aggressive... pattern that's recently happened to cuck Peter Parker as much as humanly possible.
Really?
It is. Oh my gosh! It is so. These writers for the modern comics are definitely working through some serious issues through these comics, and
wow.
but that's always been the case. They've always been thirsty, and it makes sense. They're amazingly physically fit. They have superpowers. Some of them are living forever. They look amazing. Well, especially the older comics. They were all hot back then. Less now, but So, of course, they were all thirsty, and so, in this timeline, so-and-so has kids, and this so-and-so has kids, and amnesia and kids, and all of the stupid tropes and everything else. So it makes sense that we have the superhero parody stuff, especially since a lot of these cartoons were formative sexual experiences for people of that generation.
Yeah, that's why you see a lot of the parody games with X-Men.
Yeah. It's just, and the Teen Titans are, the DC, but it's all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same to me.
It's all the same. And now all the DC, except you hate Batman, so there's, that thing.
Yeah, that's, an important distinction that everyone should remember.
And another game that, is this game finished or not?
Kind of. So they say they're completed, but they keep adding things. So the next game is Future Fragments. I covered it in April of 2021, and I covered it with the 0.27 demo. And now, I guess the build is 1.0. They're complete, but they keep adding things again. So the last time I talked about this was actually on the Steam release in the podcast Beta 1, Episode 7.
Okay,
so it's only available for patrons.
Yeah, the beta podcasts are rough, so I not learned to shut the hell up more than I currently have. But you guys were very helpful in letting me know I needed to do that.
As you just had a whole tangent about Marvel Comics.
I didn't say it was perfect. Listen, okay?
He's working it.
Hey, at least you didn't go into your anti-Batman rant.
That's true, yeah. I had to swallow my bile.
And 1.0 just means you can play the game from start to finish. It doesn't necessarily... If the developer is still putting content out and releasing content, I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah. It's... they are still adding, extra scenes, and... bug fixes, of course, and lots of bug fixes.
Oh, and this game, it's got so many songs on Spotify.
Yeah,
it's
it does.
3 different albums on Spotify.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs with this game. Yeah, it's a fun platformer. What else to say about it?
You don't like platformers unless it's got a red hat and a mustache. Those are the only platformers you seem to enjoy.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. But I kind of like Mega Man, like the old ones.
And you played some Castlevania.
Yeah. Let's just say I'm particular about my platformers. But let's see. Future Fragments is fine. I think it does a lot of things well, and I think it does a lot of things not as well. Should I go into what they do well and not well?
I'm just here for the food.
What food?
I didn't say it was a good reason.
What food?
Like I said, I didn't say it was a good reason.
Oh, I'm slow. Okay, so let's see what it does well. It does well with the music, does well with the art. I think the levels are relatively fun. I think the best level is most definitely the electric one, probably because they have had the most time to work on it. The demo that I first covered was just the electric level. And let's see what they don't do well. They do a lot of they have the problem with lore dumping, and you can really see this with the data banks that they have, and they just have too many of them, and some of the data banks don't even relate to the main story, and it's just like some guy talking about his sandwich that he had for lunch, and I'm like, I don't really want to read 4 paragraphs about his sandwich.
I don't know, that maybe they're trying to be like BioShock,
I guess, but you had more things to do in BioShock before you got to another databank or whatever they were, and in here you have 2 or 3 or 1 in each section of the level.
So you like world building, but the world building has to be meaningful in your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they kept the gold ones that actually mean something to the main story, then that's fine. I was fine with those. I didn't want to hear about a sandwich. So.
All right. I like sandwiches.
Yeah.
All right. And next up, this developer finishes games. This one should get an award for finishing games.
Yes. So the next one is called Goons Raid Her, and I first covered this one in November of 2021, and I did cover it when it was completed. And this is the same person who made Lust is Stranger, and they do have a new game called Indoctrination, and it is a Mass Effect parody. They do parodies, like Goons Raid Her was Lara Croft.
And they had a couple corruption ones before that too. I don't remember their titles though. You'll put it in the notes.
Yeah, I'll put it in the notes or little
put it
sections.
on screen.
Yeah. And then after that, they had Lust is Stranger, which is the parody for Life is Stranger.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Life is Stranger.
Now, to be fair, they were very thirsty in that game, so it's okay.
Yeah. And then, so Indoctrination is a Mass Effect parody, and honestly, it looks really cool. Like you can move around in a 3D space, and you could move around in Goons Raid Her and Lust is Stranger, but only on a 2D side scroller. Mm-hmm. And so Indoctrination has this 3D space that you can walk around, and it's really cool. And the graphics look really good. I haven't talked more about this because I have known about it, but I haven't talked more about it because there's not a lot of updates for it yet.
I wonder why they're not on Steam. Maybe
parody?
The parody would get them in trouble.
Yeah, I think the parody.
Yeah.
I mean, Goons Raid Her.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm dumb.
But yeah, I am excited to see where this one goes, and I might even cover it. But if I can get around talking about the parody stuff.
Oh no,
depends.
you get demonetized and yelled at by YouTube again. Oh no. It's like every other week.
I guess that's true, yeah.
You're like they age gated you for like a pair of pants and Buttman. It's whatever.
Oh yeah, Butt Night.
Buttman, whatever. Butt dude.
Yeah. Yeah, Butt Night. I'm still mad about that.
All right. Next up we have an oldie but a goodie for you.
It is an oldie, and it's not completed yet. It needs to be completed. So it's Harem Hotel. Covered it in March of 2021. So
an early one.
Early one, yeah. And I covered it first with the build 0.10 or 0.11. I don't really remember.
Well, you don't remember exactly. I've been impressed how you knew exactly what each build and everything. This is like some meticulous research. I know you're like, I'm off a build. It's like, damn, this is impressive. What build are they on?
Currently build 0.18. So they have had builds.
It looks like it's been slow though.
Yeah, that
same kind of slowdown.
Yeah, they've only had around 7 since I last covered them in 2021. And yeah, it's not a bad game. I talked about it also recently on the Corruption podcast.
Because it's got a lot of stats for corruption.
Yeah, stats, and you are the owner of a hotel, so you have that financial incentive over them. A lot of slaves with the elves. Sorry.
It's a weird game. But people like it.
It has interesting lore. Like, it kind of reminds me of, like, the Lord of the Rings kind of lore. No,
okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Like, just the in-depth side.
Lord of the Rings Hotel. So you're okay with that world building as opposed to...
Well, yeah, because they didn't have it. It was a show not tell reason.
Okay.
They showed it really well. Harem Hotel, they showed
Where
the lore.
Fragments was just kind of telling.
Yeah, it was just text. Okay. And I was like, I don't care about this.
Okay.
Sorry. Harem Hotel does a really good job showing, not telling, the lore of the actual world.
Okay.
Not a bad game. Surprised it's not finished. I hope it finishes soon. And honestly, if it finishes, maybe I'll cover it, because I have not touched this game in a while.
All right. What's next?
So next is House Party, and I first covered this in July of 2021. And it's kind of not completed. Like, it's completed-ish.
Think it's completed, but it's made them so many millions of dollars.
Yeah, that they just keep adding things to it.
That just makes sense.
They had a recent DLC to it called the Supporter Pack, and it basically added new story content, new sex scenes, more outfits for the characters, and like an art book or something. And yeah, so they keep adding things to the game. And they not recently, they had the Doja Cat stuff, and they came out with that in like 2023, I think.
I think that's the last time you played it.
It is.
Because I think you were going to release that, and then you didn't for some reason. Or maybe you did. I don't remember. You'll check in the notes and see if you released it.
I don't know if I did or not. I remember playing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool game in theory, but it does, I think, fall
It's
into
dated. It's dated.
Well, I think it falls into the trap where they kind of painted themselves into a corner with just being in a house. Because if you constrain yourself to just this one area, you have to make it like the most interesting and cool area to keep people interested in playing more.
I think they've done well financially. It'll be interesting to see.
They have, yes.
It'll be interesting to see if they do pivot to another project.
Well, they have. It's on Steam, and it's like a to be announced kind of thing. It's called Office Party, and so I guess they might do one in the office, but there hasn't been really discussion about it.
Yeah, let's wait till there's actually some substance.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is HuniePop 2 Double Date, which I covered February 2021, very early. And I covered it when it was complete. And there's not much to say about this one because...
This was the top Steam game of 2021, I remember that.
Yeah.
You gave Treasure Nadia the overall win, but you were neck and neck with this one.
Yeah, and I chose Treasure of Nadia because it just had more to it from like a story standpoint.
Well, you also said it was the Patreon part, and because it became so late in the year, and your data was sound. I'm cool. I'm just noticing. I played this. It's okay.
You played this?
It's a puzzle game, you know.
Well, I think a lot of people actually played this. Like, I think...
of course. HuniePop and HuniePop 2 made millions and millions of dollars. I think it was like this.
Yeah, I think it was like popular with mainstream
Yeah, it was
people.
a gateway game.
Yeah. Because they made so much money, they haven't really done anything else like any other games.
I also think that the character designs wouldn't make it on Steam today.
Yeah, some of them
anime-style games do not do well unless they have an off-site patch.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see if they have something coming up.
Yeah.
We're at like the 10-year anniversary of HuniePop, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. The original HuniePop. So, yeah, not HuniePop 2. We would have to wait
a while.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
So this is when I did a huge jump, and I saw down the list that I had Mythic Manor on here.
You're like, ooh, I want to cover this.
Well, to be honest, I was like, what is this?
You didn't remember it?
No.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know it is, because I get it mixed up with Harem Hotel. And so, honestly, my two playthroughs...
It's the same illusion characters.
Yeah, it's the same illusion characters. I just have to remember that Mythic Manor has better renders. And so... And so, honestly, my two playthroughs with them, I see, like, they kind of blend together because they're so similar. And I'm sorry for Harem Hotel people who are just going to be like, oh my god, you hate Harem Hotel.
You're not the first person to say that they all kind of feel samey. All right, so Mythic Manor, you covered that in April of 2021. What build?
Yeah, build 0.16. And it's currently on build 0.22.
So once again...
Yep, it's a slow release.
It's a pattern.
Yeah.
Be interesting to sit them all down and...
Sit them all down?
Well, no, ask and see, because I'm sure they all have unique circumstances.
I'm sure, yeah.
And it would be interesting to see if you got enough of a sample what overlap there is in the unique circumstances. How much of it is burnout? How much of it is just overwhelmed by their success? How much of it is just...
Okay, so what you're saying, that I need to create like a Discord section or a Discord chat
there's
where
no...
they have them and I'm just like, hey guys.
There's no reason for them to share that kind of information with you. So your research would be heavily confounded.
Yeah.
Because, what's it to you?
But yeah, so they're... slowly cranking out builds for this one.
And this was basically you're living in a house with a whole bunch of supernatural girls?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
That's the
that's the
game.
All
yeah.
Right. All right. Speaking of supernatural girls.
So the next one is Pact with a Witch, which I covered in October of 2021. This is not completed still, which I was actually surprised about. So I went digging, and apparently they took a break from updating Pact with a Witch to focus on other games in 2023, and these other games were Trapped in a Fantasy Femdom Brothel and Secret Glory Hole. But they have recently finished those, and they are now back on the Pact with the Witch grind, and they said that they hopefully will finish the game before 2026. And this game actually has an update every Christmas, so I'm thinking that hopefully means that the game will only have one more update and it will finish this year.
You really like the story, if I remember correctly.
It is a really good story about transformation, yes. I think it explores the flavors well, yeah.
I didn't like the art, though.
Yeah, okay, so I was thrown off by the art at first, but, it kind of grew on me. I got used to it.
Okay.
And, yeah. I think they explore the transformation flavors really well, and it's written really well.
Yeah, I remember you ranting about this to your mom and I, and you're like, this is, there's so many bad transformation games.
There are.
And this one just gets into the intimacy and the body horror and all of the stuff that comes. And I was like, okay, so you really feel strongly about this.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, there's not a lot of transformation games that really go into the darkness of it. And I think this covers it really well.
That's cool, and I'm glad that you enjoy it, and maybe you'll get to finish it this Christmas.
Hopefully.
All right, what's next?
So the next one is Sanguine Rose, which I covered May 2021, and I did cover this one when it was completed. So the developer for this game is a bit, let's see, how am I going to phrase this? The developer's not making games anymore.
Oh.
I think that's just how I'm going to say it. Something happened in 2023, and they are no longer making games. And there was this whole post on Patreon, but they have since deactivated it, so I can't see what actually happened.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But I do know that the two people who were in charge of Sanguine Rose were a couple, and so maybe they broke up or something happened between the two, and they're just not making games anymore, which sucks.
I remember this game because this was your first game back from suspension, or this was the game
it was.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, I looked back at my video for it, and I was like, oh yeah, so this is my game after suspension.
Oh, you were so mad about that.
I was so mad.
You were so mad.
It was actually right after the Become a Rockstar. Yeah. So
you got suspended, and that's when you made the Patreon, because you realized I will never make money on YouTube. And you made the Patreon. And
I was just like, all right, guys, fuck it. I'll just create a Patreon then.
You were so salty.
I was. But yeah, so they were trying, Sanguine Rose people, they were trying to make another game called Joystick Bliss, which actually looked really cool. And I really like the art style for Sanguine Rose and Joystick Bliss.
Yeah, it's that dark kind of fantasy art that you like.
Yeah, and it really reminded me of Seeds of Chaos. So I was really excited about that, but, oh well.
Well, it's unfortunate.
But I highly recommend, if you like Seeds of Chaos, try out Sanguine Rose.
All right, and our final game for this three-part episode.
Our final game.
You people may have heard of this one.
People may have heard of this one, through the grapevine. It's a little game, just a small one, called Summertime Saga. You may have heard of it. I covered it in February of 2021.
This and Seeds of Chaos were your first two reviews.
Yeah, it was. This and Seeds of Chaos. And HuniePop, actually. And
yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was up there. But yeah, it's not completed. Shocker, I know.
You talk about all right. You talk about this game so much, but
I
there's
really
a reason why you talk about this game so much, because it's the undisputed king of Patreon.
Yeah, you really can't touch it.
This is so many people's entry game to Western adult games. It is getting builds out as of last year again.
Yeah, it's
cranking away.
Yeah, but it's the tech demo. It's the tech updates.
No, but I think we will see a finish, and
I hope.
You genuinely like this game.
I do, yeah.
You are just frustrated by because one of the things that I don't think always comes out is when you're frustrated about a game, sometimes I think the viewers and the listeners think you don't like the game.
Oh.
You don't get frustrated about games you don't like. You only get frustrated about games you enjoy.
Yes, I do. That's a problem with Project Passion.
Subverse.
Or Subverse,
Remember
yeah.
how you wouldn't have cared as much about how Subverse finished if you didn't care about the franchise.
Yeah, you know how many videos I made of that game?
If you
doesn't
go
matter, I
back and
guess.
look at your Sex and the Space Opera video about Subverse,
yeah.
it is obvious that you like that game. But so
Yeah.
many people after your review were like,
like,
"Oh,
oh, I
she's
guess
just
she
a
doesn't like
hater."
it. Yeah.
So you enjoy Summertime Saga.
I do.
You just want summer to finish.
I want summer to finish.
You want to
I
get
want it
to
to
fall.
Yeah, can we get winter?
We'll get Winter Saga as the sequel.
I think I've said that before.
Well, yeah, you did, because it was Summer Memories and Winter Memories.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my
but
God.
there is more content came out last year than 2022 and 2023 put together.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm sticking up for the game.
you should. Someone should.
Someone should.
But yeah, so they have the tech updates. But honestly, if you want to play the game with more content, I would suggest to play the old version with it having just like the square.
I think they're
Video.
I think it's going to happen. I think by the end of the year, because you're going
By
to have
the end of the year.
No, by the end of the year, there's going to be more content.
Oh,
and
okay,
I think that you're going to have to talk about it at the end of the year, because no one's going to unseat it as the top Patreon game unless
Yeah.
Patreon bans it. That's the only scenario I can.
Oh my God! Imagine.
But that's the only scenario I can think of where it's
Yeah.
not the number one game, because it has so many more subscribers.
Yeah.
So you're going to talk about it again in December. Yeah, spoilers. Top Patreon games of 2025.
Well, honestly, I talk about it every year.
Because you have to. It's been the
Yeah, so
it has been the
it's
top game since before you started. So it's there. All right. So that's what we got. That was 22 games, and we will do
We will do
22 more in the next one.
Yep,
Oh man,
and
they're gonna eat well this month.
then-
Well, you know why we're doing this? It's because somebody, when we were shipping stuff from Vietnam to Taiwan, somebody included equipment that they needed to make videos. So we're gonna.
I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know. It must have been the lizards that are in my room.
So we called an audible with this one, and it'll be fun. It's good to. I'm looking at this, from remembering you covering the games and everything else.
Yeah,
so.
I find it fun too because I'm looking at games that I haven't looked at in years.
And people have been asking you about this for years, to revisit
Yeah.
games, and hopefully this will satisfy,
This will
scratch
satisfy.
that itch for them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you'll let us know in the comments.
They will definitely let us know. If you enjoyed this episode of Shame Free Gaming, be sure to check out my YouTube channel, my Patreon, and my Discord. Also, all of the games that we talked about can be found on my Patreon, Sex Positive Gaming, and I will see you next time.